Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. It's starting to get a little bit cooler at night now. It's getting towards spooky time, right? Everyone who is a longtime listener knows Halloween is my favorite time of year. And for me, spooky time starts, September 1st. Woo, the skeletons are coming out. But I was very excited when I saw this new book that was coming out with Ghosts and Monsters and Demons of India. And I immediately reached out to the publisher, and I'm so excited that you guys are going to get to meet the author, Rakesh Khanna. He is here today all the way from India to chat with us. So if you have never read his books yet, he does a lot of translations of Indian authors. And I'll read his bio here so you can get to know him. Rakesh Khanna grew up in Berkeley, California, of mixed Punjabi and Anglo-American heritage. He co-founded Loft Publications in Chennai, India, with his wife, Rashmi Ruth David Dawson, there we go, in 2008. The company publishes translations of Indian language pulp fiction, folklore, weird fiction, and graphic novels. Sometimes he edits math textbooks, too, so he's very well-rounded. He is interested in marine invertebrates, percussion music, demonology, and topological graph theory. You can find out more about his book right there on the Blog Talk site. I did put a link to Penguin Random House so that you can grab a copy of this book. I was reading some of the reviews on NetGalley, and I can't wait to get my copy. I'm very excited, but I don't want to delay anymore. Are you there, Rakesh?
I'm here. Thanks so much for having me, Lisa.
Yeah, you're all the way over in the future in India, right?
I am here. It's 10:30 p.m. Yep.
Are all the monsters and ghosts out now?
Yeah. They're coming. It was raining hard earlier, so I think they were maybe hiding for a while.
Right. Ghosts don't like to be wet, right? They like to be dry.
Yeah, some of them. It's hard to generalize. There's a lot of different types.
Yes. Well, speaking of, I was really curious about the inspiration behind the book. What made you, I know that you do translations, maybe that inspired it, but what made you decide that it was time to collect all the ghost monsters and demons of India and put them in one volume?
Right. Well, publishing kind of by accident. About 15 years ago, my wife, Rashmi, and I launched this publishing company with the idea of publishing translations of Indian pulp writers. So there had been, a lot of Indian literature translated into English, of course, but it had been sort of, literary or, serious realist literature, and not so much of the fun stuff were actually the bestsellers. So we live I grew up in the U.S., but we live in Tamil Nadu in the southeast of the country, and so there are these pulp writers who I think very much like you are extremely prolific and publish like lots of novels, a novel a month, some of them. And these things are always up at the newsstands, and they have these very exciting looking covers with all kinds of demons and guns and all sorts of stuff. And we were fascinated and we wanted to translate them. So my wife is a Tamilian, but she grew up outside the state, so she's not literate in her mother tongue. So we found a translator, Preetham K. Chakravarti, to do the translation and select, some great stories. So that was our first book that we came out with, was Tamil pulp fiction. And then with that same translator, we worked on a book of folk tales from Tamil. By a writer named K. Rajanarayanan, who just died a couple of years ago. That book is called Where Are You Going, You Monkeys? And that book has this amazing chapter of Pays and Pisasus, which are ghosts and demons, basically, from Tamil Nadu. And they were really different from the Indian ghosts that I had heard of. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of Indian mythology or culture. My father wasn't very religious, but his Punjabi folklore was very different from these Tamil ghosts. And then later on, we worked on another book of folklore with Sherry Tangte, who's an author from Mizoram on like the other side of the country near the border with Myanmar. And that book also has this extremely different pantheon of ghosts. They're really different. There's lots of different demons and shapeshifters and all kinds of stuff. And we were also looking at translating horror novels. So I was, reading synopses and translations from other Indian language fiction. And there's just a really large diversity of these creatures that Indians who read in English or from different states weren't aware of all these different mythologies that are happening all over the country, right? So we thought we should try to collect them in a book.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I was curious too, because you're on the other side of the world. We were talking about that before the show started, but do you guys have monsters that are, like for here in the U.S., it's Bigfoot, and there's lake monsters and all that kind of thing. Do they have like location-based monsters in India too, or are they all tied up with, religious mythologies and that kind of thing?
No, definitely there's lots of monsters and lots of cryptids. I mean, I think people are aware of the Yeti, which is our, Indian or Himalayan version of Bigfoot, right? From the
right.
mountains. The Yeti or abominable snowman, that one's pretty well known. But there are actually lots of different types of Yeti. So depending on where you go in the Himalayas, you get different varieties of Yeti. Nyalmo is the biggest and scariest one, with the female is more deadly than the male and likes to abduct humans and keep them as slaves in their caves. And there are other types of Yeti from the eastern Himalayas. In Meghalaya, you have something called the Mande Burung. I think actually that one also likes to abduct human men. But yeah, anyway, there's lots of different varieties of Yeti. There's a cryptid dinosaur from Arunachal Pradesh up near the Chinese border called the Buru. There's a smoke cat, like kind of cryptid feline from the Nilgiris Mountains in the south that can maybe dissolve into smoke. So lots of these kinds of things.
I'm so sorry about my dog. She was asleep. Hey, stop. Okay. Yes, we're live, guys.
Chasing the smoke cat. Yeah.
Right? She heard about that smoke cat and she's on it. Oh, yeah. I love that. So when you were coming up with all of the different stories, how did you guys go about collecting them? Because like even just ghost stories, every town has their ghost story, right? How did you go about making this happen to collect them all? How long did it take?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I sort of started collecting them when we worked on the Ki Rajanarayanan book, like back in 2009. So, I had sort of been collecting them from different books that I'd read and books that we worked on. And then just a lot of, web research and reading other folklorists. There are a lot of great folklorists writing in English, in all languages, but the easiest accessible for me are the writers in English. Onaiza Drabu, who writes about Kashmiri folklore, or Kinfam Singh Nonkinre, who writes about folklore from Meghalaya. I mean, these are like wonderful books. They're super fun. So I mined a lot of that stuff. We mined a lot of old British anthropological literature, like stuff from the colonial time when these British guys were sort of trying to do some ethnographic mapping of the tribes of various parts of the country. And some of them, there's some, racist colonial attitudes in some of that, but some of them seem to be pretty sincerely trying to get down, the local lore. So some of those books are pretty interesting. And then some of them are just, looking at like modern television shows, like how the ghosts appear in modern Telugu serials or Hindi serials, or we have lots of languages, lots of media going on. But horror shows are popular all over the country in many languages. So
right, and
we look not only at the ancient mythology, but also the new stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So when you were collecting these, did you find favorites, ones that, that you thought were the coolest? I mean, did you have a favorite ghost monster, demon?
Oh, it's really hard to choose. It's really hard
like
to
choosing
choose.
your favorite demon baby.
Yeah, it's tough. Let's see. I think so. There's a state called Sikkim, yeah, which is if you think of the map of India, it's just north of Bangladesh on that little neck that connects the northeast of the country to the mainland. And that state has this pantheon of Mung, which are like basically evil spirits. And they have a lot of Mung. Like, people talk about how there's more Mung in Sikkim than there are humans.
Wow.
There's like this huge variety of different kinds of Mung. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And, they get very specific. There's Mung for, every disease you can think of. Cho Mung is the demon that pushes people off of cliffs. And Chu Mung is the demon who lives on the glaciers. And Klo Mung is a ape-like creature that used to live in the forest a long time ago. And Mazum Mung is a demon who appears as a huge black fire-breathing dog with blazing eyes. So there's a lot of Mung diversity. But the king of the Mung, I think, might be one of his name is Latho Mung Pano. And he was supposed to be the brother of the ancestral humans, but his parents threw him out, and he sort of nurses revenge on the human race ever since. And he, I think long ago he went and hid in a sago palm tree at the top of a mountain, and then the good spirits came to try to chop the tree down, and then when they finally did chop the tree down, he turned into a gargantuan black bird with eyes of flame and spread his wings and flew from the tree and went on a lethal rampage through the Dongbu Valley, gobbling everybody up. And finally they killed him, but then from his bones, more evil spirits came out, and there's places in the geography of Sikkim where you can still find, those were his bones.
Wow.
The landforms of the mountains and stuff. So yeah, I like that story a lot. It's a great one.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I got to ask, have you ever seen a ghost? Have you had any kind of supernatural experiences that make you, really interested in this kind of thing?
I have to say that I kind of haven't, and I have a sort of a rationalist take on the whole thing, which disappoints some people. I've had, lots of readers have come to me hoping that I have lots of tales of encountering these beings. But no, but I think where it gets spooky for me is like how similar the folklore is. Like how in very different parts of the country and very different parts of the world, like the similarities and differences between the stories that we make up around fear.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of intense. It can get a little bit creepy. Especially when there's like these really close parallels with the ghost from one part of the country and a very far away part of the country, where it's like, did that story travel from there to there, or is that sort of some archetypal scary thing that is
right
there in human evolution, and we come up with that, like independently of each other. I'm not sure what, but.
Well, I always like to think that, behind every myth, there was some kind of real thing that happened that we had no explanation for. And that always fascinates me so what, somehow you found only someone's liver somewhere, and then suddenly there's a monster who eats everything except the liver. There's always, behind every story,
right.
there was some kind of reality that we needed, an explanation for. Have you ever thought about that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So this Lasomong Pano story, there are a lot of stories, especially from the Northeast, of these giant demons that were slain, and their bodies in their death throes. They smashed mountains down and created this cave and that that valley. So there's a lot of this geography which is linked to the death throes of these giant demons. So that's one for sure.
Right.
And I think just also before you have the germ theory of disease, I think, a lot of these demons are just kind of the names of diseases. They're
right.
sort of personified diseases, you know what I mean? And sometimes like physical diseases, but also mental illness, right?
Right.
And I mean, I've not really studied psychology and stuff, but I know some kind of psychologists talk about how mental illness can be cultural in a way. I remember reading somebody talking about how anorexia was actually not really known in China until fairly recently. There's sort of mental issues that are culturally specific and sort of spread when cultures spread. So then you start to wonder if these demons are sort of traveling with us.
Right. Right. Yes.
I don't know. So I mean, I've never met a ghost, but I do wonder, because those things are hard to explain, right? I mean,
right.
I don't think science has good explanations for a lot of mental illness and stuff like that. So thinking of how the intersection of that with demonology is interesting, right?
For sure. Well, in India, do they have big Halloween times like we have here? Or is it a different time of year there? Is there a time when they get excited and celebrate all of the spirits and things in the shadows?
Yeah, Halloween has not been so big until recently.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of catching up in the cities, but it can come in kind of like sort of elite English-speaking Indians will have Halloween parties, and it's known to some extent in the cities, but it's not that common in smaller towns and stuff. There are more local kind of ghost festivals. There's a town close to where I am. Chennai is the big city, but Vellore, which is close by, has a festival called Mayanakolai. Mayanakolai is people dress up a little Halloweeny. Everybody gets out their devil horns and paints their faces scary. And
oh, fun!
To tell you the truth, I don't know that legend very well, but I was there once for the procession, and everybody gets done up. It kind of looks like Halloween.
Yeah. Kind of like
lots of big scary sculptures.
Yeah, across the border, Dia de los Muertos, it's actually the day after Halloween, but it's that same thing where you paint your face and you celebrate your loved ones who have transitioned and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of miracles and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to see, because we think of Halloween as the spirit day, but I think other countries probably have their own, day when that's, where you celebrate the darker things that are racing around to keep them away or to, whatever your traditions might be.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of Indian religion actually this was a problem we had when we were trying to figure out what to put in the book and what not to put in the book, because the line between God and demon is pretty gray. Right? There's a lot of sort of angry deities that you worship them, but you kind of worship them to placate them so that they don't go crazy and kill everybody.
Yeah, keep them out of your house.
They're not nice characters at all, right? So it's very much to quell their wrath, and these are small gods or godlings that demand sacrifice, or non-veg gods they call them a lot of the time. But they can also be benevolent, right? They can also give people blooms, and you do have devotees of these beings, and often they're actually, ghosts. Like it's it's a historical person that died and was deified, right?
Okay.
And who has sort of become the local spirit or guardian. And those, a lot of those stories get pretty interesting. Sometimes, they start out angry, and then eventually, with enough proper worship, they sort of get converted to a benevolent god.
Oh, nice. They get redemption.
Yeah. There's a crazy story about two sisters, two yakshis. So yakshas and yakshis are probably like the oldest, one of the oldest supernatural beings that we know of, and they were almost countrywide. Like you get them in all parts of India, and all religions. Like they're there in Hindu myths and Buddhist myths, and even in some of the Kashmiri Muslim myths, and even in the Christian legends in the South also have yakshis. So yakshis are like, and even like Sikh scriptures don't often mention demons at all, but they mention yakshis. So,
wow.
And they're they've changed over time and in different places, but so yakshas are the male version and yakshis are the female version. And in the South, yakshis can get a little bit more evil, like they can get pretty nasty. But there are these two sisters, Kavali Ammal and Neelapila Ammal, who almost at the southern tip of India, there's a temple with these two sisters, and they were two sisters who died like a tragic death, and then changed into yakshis after death to take revenge on the local Raja, the local king, and ate his whole family and caused lots of chaos. And finally, they were sort of placated, and a temple was built to them, and they were, worshipped enough that one of them became nice, but one of them is still scary. And they're there together in that temple, right?
Right. So you build them a really nice place for them to stay.
Right.
Do not come to my house.
So
You
lots
stay
of stories
in your
like
house.
this. Right.
Did you find any parallels in the monsters? And I know India is a very big place. Did you find parallels in monsters like from North and South, and where they're very far away, and you kind of go, that's interesting that these stories are almost same, but maybe a different monster or anything?
Yeah, the most amazing one like that for me was Dur, who he's a ghost in Kumaon, which is like North Himalayan foothills. If you've heard of Jim Corbett, like the British guy who started off as a tiger hunter and then was into tiger conservation later in his life. So Kumaon is that region that he wrote about. So Kumaon has this ghost god called Aidi. And he is the ghost of a very wealthy hunter who died while he was on the hunt. And it's not like hunting like you think of in America. It's like hunting like your servants are carrying you around in a big palanquin. Like you have litter bearers who are carrying you around, and they're beating the bushes for the animals to come out so that you can shoot them. But he's got eyes on top of his head and 4 arms. His arms, in some of the stories, his arms are actually made of metal. Like he's got metal bows for arms, and he's got venomous spit. So if he spits on you, like you're in deep trouble. You need to have like spiritual healing fast, or else you're gonna die.
Wow.
But these eyes point to the top of the sky. And the crazy thing is that you get this exact same guy in Malaysia.
Wow.
And it's like it's really far away. There's a ghost in Malaysia called Hantu Pemburu, and he's also the spectral huntsman. He's also the hunter ghost god, and his eyes are on top of his head, and he spits venom. And these places are separated by, like, I don't know what it is. It's very far, and there's no, it's about like 2,500 miles away, and there's no similar story in the middle that I could find. Right, it's only in these two places. So that was really kind of weird. Like, how did that story get from there to there?
Right.
And it's been in both places, so like it's an old story in both places, right? Or did they both sort of independently come up with the same scary guy? I'm not sure.
Did they both have a really nasty hunter who died about the same time?
It doesn't seem like it can be a coincidence. I don't know. But I have no idea how it's possible. You know, like I don't know how that story has traveled just from there to there. They're really far away from each other in different languages.
Yeah, that's wild. So how many years did it take you to collect all of this?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was sort of casually collecting without really thinking of putting it into a book yet from 2009, and then I guess I got to seriously trying to write it in 2017 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 3 years of writing. Yeah.
Wow. And is this book available in India? Are people able to grab it and go, oh my gosh, there's our story. Is it going to be available there?
Yeah, we published it in India first. We published it in India first through our publishing company, Blaft, B-L-A-F-T. And then Watkins. So it was kind of fun that Watkins picked it up. They're a UK publisher that it's like a really old history of being kind of an occult-focused bookshop, right? Like the owner was friends with Madame Blavatsky and all that stuff in like the late 1800s. And my book actually starts with a story that involves Madame Blavatsky because she also came to Chennai and lived here, right? So that's I think that's part of the reason Watkins was excited by the book because there's this little connection there. Of the spiritualists, right? So.
That is so cool. So when you published it in India, you usually do translations into English, right? Did you have someone translate it into the different languages in India? How did you handle it?
No, we just published it here in English. It hasn't come out in an Indian language yet.
Okay.
I would love for that to happen. It can be, I don't know. I would love for that to happen. I need a good Hindi translator or Tamil translator to come and have a go at it.
Yeah, who could look up all those old stories. Right? Yeah, I would think so.
Sounds going on here. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, before we run out of time, how, if somebody gets really excited about this book and all the, stories, and they want to write something and they want to contact you, should they reach out through your publishing company? How do they get in touch? Are you on social media?
We're Blaftness on Twitter, or I guess you call it X. And let's see, I'm at Blaft, B-L-A-F-T on Mastodon, which I've been liking better than X these days. And Blaft Publications on Instagram. We're all over the place. Yeah, okay. I haven't been running handles under my own name. I probably should start doing that.
Because people are going to see your name on the book and go, where is he?
Right.
Well, thanks so much for being here. This was right. Yeah, add it to your list of things to do. Well, thanks so much for being here and staying up late with us to talk about ghosts and demons. This was fascinating. And everybody, go out and grab your copy of the Ghosts, Monsters, and Demons of India. Got a really beautiful cover, so definitely go check it out. And thanks again for being here, Rakesh. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. Thanks a lot.
Okay, talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us on Booklight. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.